Tucker Carlson is a living stereotype. He's the spoiled little brat who read a couple of books that you didn't and tries to prove he's smarter than everyone else because he was the twerp nobody could stand. And now, even Republicans can't stand him. I'm going to show Republican Dan Crenshaw take down Tucker, but you have to ask yourself, why did it take this long? Tucker may have gotten high ratings on Fox, but he's always been an absolute phony. His job was to give voice to the rage white males are feeling because the system is no longer rigged in their favor. Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, and Tucker went on the air night after night and soothed white male angst over the outrageousness of having to compete with women and people of color when the world rightfully should belong to them. Day after day, they blamed it all on the liberals and grew a media empire doing it. This act that he puts on, I'm the privileged rich guy who is outraged by your pain, and I'm going to use my intellectual prowess to win you back what's yours, is just so patently phony that it's hard to believe anyone can believe it. But that just means it's not terribly difficult to expose it. And that's exactly what Jon Stewart did years ago when Tucker was on CNN. Watch parts of this classic takedown.
No, you're not too rough on them. You're part of their strategies. You're partisan, hacks.
And have them fight it out.
To do a debate would be great, but that's like saying pro wrestling is a show about athletic competition. No, this is theater. I mean, it's obvious. How old are you?
35.
And you wear a bow tie.
Yeah, I do.
So this is...
No, I know.
So
You're right. No, let me just go. No, come on.
And listen, I'm not suggesting that you're not a smart guy, because those are not easy to tie. You're on CNN. The show that leads into me is puppets making crank phone calls. What is wrong with you?
Well, I'm just saying, there's no reason...
When you have people on for just knee-jerk, reactionary talk...
Wait, I thought you were going to be funny. Come on, be funny.
No, I'm not going to be your monkey. Go ahead. I watch your show every day, and it kills me.
I can tell you love it.
It's so painful to watch.
Stewart here is absolutely masterful at exposing how fraudulent Tucker Carlson and Crossfire really were. This clip should be taught in political rhetoric classes in every university for the way in which Stewart goes back and forth between comedy and direct critique to expose the caustic effect that the show and Tucker Carlson has on this society. It's an object lesson for the way in which successful confrontation should be performed. Stewart consistently outmaneuvered his opponent. Stewart exposed not only Carlson, but the show itself so thoroughly that CNN canceled the show. And that's one of the most important lessons of pushback. It works. People basically knew that Crossfire wasn't of any real value, but nobody was ready to expose it until Stewart. He pushed back with the goal of exposing Carlson, and it worked. Well, now Republican Dan Crenshaw is doing the same thing. Watch this.
Not with me. I always thought he was a freak and a warmonger.
Really? Yeah.
Weirdo, yeah. He's a freak and a warmonger weirdo, but yeah.
He's showing it now.
Dan, your response to being a freak, a warmonger, and a weirdo.
Yeah, well, this is typical for Tucker. Tucker has no actual substance, right? He's been attacking me since 2022 when he became obsessed with me. I live rent-free in that little mongrel's head. And, you know, people ask me all the time, like, why does he hate you? And I'm like, the fact that you can't answer that question is indicative of the fact that he has no actual substance. See, I can tell you why Mehdi disagrees with me. I can tell you why Mehdi doesn't like me. At least he has, I disagree with them all, but at least he has things that he disagrees with me on. Tucker never actually says anything. It's just insults. He'll use my war wound to insult me. He's a weird, bad guy. I mean, people should not be tricked by his supposed stance against the DC insider elites, right? Because he literally is that. I mean, people should know, what's on the Hunter Biden laptops? What's funny? Emails from Tucker Carlson to Hunter Biden, asking Hunter Biden for help to get Tucker's son into Georgetown. Tucker's a silver spoon-fed trust fund baby, went to boarding school guy. It is the epitome of the DC elites who pretends to fight against it in order to corner a market in the media.
Now, it's distinctly funny here that Carlson refers to Crenshaw, a retired, decorated Navy SEAL who lost his eye in combat, as a warmonger. Nobody on earth would be able to feign the degree of outrage Tucker could muster if he were back on Fox and a liberal called Crenshaw a warmonger. But the other thing that's striking about that criticism is that Tucker is usually very gung-ho about war in the military so that he can beef up his own ineffectual masculinity. But Crenshaw's criticisms go right to the core of what can only be described as the Tucker Carlson persona. It's an act. It's always been an act, and it will always be an act because, as Crenshaw points out, Tucker has no substance. The big question here is whether Crenshaw is defending his own reputation or whether there is an attempt by real conservative Republicans to take their party back from MAGA. And that is the ultimate irony of Tucker Carlson. He speaks to an audience that he essentially hates. Undereducated, working class, manual labor people whose lot in life is to serve the likes of him. He has a silver spoon so deeply lodged in his throat that he couldn't sit down and have a beer with the MAGA crowd if his life depended on it. Much like J.D. Vance, Tucker is just a tool, and Dan Crenshaw just let the rest of the world know that. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.